Alex Cardinale. Entertainment all day. Click, dive deep. Color on the screen runs free. Tropical fins, bright reef. Whole ocean.
I'm Alex Cardinale, and I personally would like to welcome you to this presentation of the Alex Cardinale Entertainment YouTube channel. I hope you enjoy this special live stream right here on A.C.E.
Several murder cases often occur in several parts of the world. It is very difficult to reveal this case. An investigation needs to be carried out by the police. The investigation will be carried out by police officers. The evidence will be analyzed by a team from the forensic laboratory. And the results of the examination from the forensic laboratory will be given to detectives to be developed into information. The results of the analysis will be used to create an investigation report anatomic of crime. The report will be adjusted according to witness statements and indicative evidence.
Unlock the mysteries with Detective Alex Cardinale. Hey fellow detectives and crime junkies, welcome to On the Case with Detective Alex Cardinale. Get ready to dive into a world of crime and mystery. Join Detective Cardinale as he explores crimes of all kinds, from rapes and murders to robberies and more. Ever wonder what crimes took place 10 to 20 years ago? What can we learn from these past enigmas? Tune in right now to find out. Why watch? Engaging analysis. Detective Cardinale brings his expert insights and captivating storytelling to unravel some of the most perplexing cases. Educational insights. Learn about investigative techniques and the intricacies of solving crimes. Historical perspective. Discover how past crimes have shaped current law enforcement practices. Remember, keeping our communities safe starts with you. If you see something suspicious, don't hesitate to report it by calling 911. Remember, if you see something, say something. Let's welcome our host from Port St. Lucie, Florida, Detective Alex Cardinale, as he takes you on a thrilling journey into the heart of the criminal world. Don't miss out on this captivating experience. Tune in now and be part of the adventure.
Hello, crime junkies! Welcome to On the Case. I'm your host, Detective Alex Cardinale. And tonight on the case, we're talking about one of the most sick, perverse, and one of the most disturbing serial killers in American history. He really is a sick individual. Tonight we are talking about the lady killer, Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy is known to have killed dozens of young girls and women. Not only did he murder them, he also sexually assaulted them while they were alive, while he killed them, and while they were dead. It is absolutely disgusting. He is a disgusting individual. So, tonight on the case, you're going to learn all about Ted Bundy, who is the serial killer everyone in America probably already knows about, probably because you've seen the show on IG Discovery about Ted Bundy. Tonight, I'm going to educate you on the man himself, Ted Bundy. We're going to learn about the crimes he committed. We're going to learn his modus operandi, the legacy he leaves behind, and more. All that starts right here, right now. As always, I appreciate you watching. Please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Let's go ahead and get started, and we're going to start by learning who is Ted Bundy. If you didn't know who Ted Bundy was, you would have likely seen him as the quintessential all-American success story of the 1970s. He was a handsome, charismatic law student who volunteered at a suicide prevention hotline and worked for the Republican Party. He was so well regarded that even those who worked closely with him, like true crime writer Ann Rule, saw him as a kind, socialist, and empathetic friend. But beyond this mask of sanity, Ted Bundy was a prolific serial killer who kidnapped and murdered dozens of young women across 7 states between 1974 and 1978. He also was a necrophiliac, which is absolutely disgusting if you ask me. Bundy's most terrifying trait was his ability to explore empathy. He often approached his victims in public places while wearing a fake arm sling or leg cast, pretending to be injured and asking for help. Sometimes he would even pose as a police officer or authority figure. Once he lured a victim to his car, often a light brown Volkswagen Beetle, he would overpower them with sudden, brutal violence. When he was finally caught and went on trial in Florida in 1979, the case became the first nationally televised murder trial in American history. Rather than acting like a criminal, Bundy represented himself in the court, treating the proceedings like a starring role. He was so manipulative that many people refused to believe he was guilty, including a woman named Carol Ann Boone, whom he actually married in the middle of his trial. How sick is that? In the middle of a trial for murdering dozens of girls and women, he marries a woman named Carol Ann Boone. The Reckoning. Ted Bundy eventually confessed to 30 murders, though investigators believe the true number of victims could be well over 100. His crimes were not just about murder. They involved horrific acts of torture, burglary, and necrophilia. And if you don't know what necrophilia is, it means having sex with a deceased corpse, a deceased human. That in itself is disgusting and sick. It is gross. His legacy is one of heartless evil that shattered the myth that predators are easy to spot. After a decade on death row, his life ended in the electric chair at Florida State Prison on January 24th, 1989. So a bit later on in the show, we're going to talk about his capture and his sentencing in depth. All right, how he maintained the mask. Ted Bundy didn't just act normal. He meticulously constructed a persona that mirrored the most respected members of society, mimicking social graces. Because he lacked genuine empathy, he studied how people interacted and copied them. He would practice small talk and social niceties, sometimes even boasting to those close to him when he successfully remembered to ask how someone's baby was doing. The All-American success. He built a resume that was beyond reproach. He was a college graduate, a law student, a political volunteer for the Republican Party, and even worked for a crime prevention task force. This professional success made it nearly impossible for people to imagine him as a violent predator. Emotional stability. Unlike the typical image of a crazed killer, Ted Bundy appeared emotionally stable, assertive, and articulate. This calm demeanor allowed him to charm judges, interviewers, and victims alike. His mask wasn't just for social standing, it was his most effective hunting tool. The wounded ruse. He frequently used his non-threatening appearance to play on the kindness of others. He would wear a fake arm sling or leg cast and ask young women to help him carry items to his car. Authority figures. He would sometimes wear a fake police badge or suit to appear as a trustworthy authority figure, luring women into his vehicle under the guise of investigating a crime. Chameleon-like changes. Ted Bundy was known for his ability to change his physical appearance with minor adjustments, like parting his hair differently or growing a mustache, which made it incredibly difficult for witnesses to provide a consistent description. Even after his arrest, Ted Bundy refused to let the mask slip. He famously defended himself in court, treating the trial as a stage to showcase his intellect and legal brilliance. He was in such deep denial of his own condition that he felt insulted by his lawyer's suggestions to use an insanity defense. It was only in the days leading up to his execution that he finally dropped the facade and confessed, revealing that the charming law student was indeed the most cold-hearted son of a bitch you will ever meet. Now let's talk about Ted Bundy's upbringing. I want to see if Ted Bundy's upbringing had anything to do with how he turned out as a human being. Because sometimes when these serial killers have a bad upbringing, it really is a ticking time bomb for them to turn into the serial killers that they usually do. Alright, so Ted Bundy's upbringing was marked by a complex and deceptive family dynamic that many psychologists believe contributed to his later development. Ted Bundy was born Theodore Robert Cowell in 1946 at a home for unwed mothers in Vermont. So Ted Bundy actually was born under a different name. He was born Theodore Robert Cowell. To avoid the social stigma of a out of wedlock birth at the time, his maternal grandparents raised him in Philadelphia, posing as his parents. His biological mother, Eleanor Louise Caldwell, lived in the same home, but was presented to him as his older sister. The truth of his parentage was a point of extreme resentment for Bundy. While accounts vary, he likely discovered his true birth records either in his teens or as a college student in 1969. Descriptions of his early home life are contradictory. Ted's perspective. In some interviews, he spoke warmly of his grandfather, Samuel Caldwell, as a Santa Claus figure he deeply respected. Other accounts, family members later described the grandfather as a tyrannical bully who was physically abusive to his wife and children and obsessed with pornography. His grandmother reportedly suffered from severe depression and underwent electroconvulsive therapy. In 1950, his mother moved with him to Tacoma, Washington to live with cousins. There she married John Culpeper Bundy, a hospital cook who formerly adopted Ted and gave him the last name Bundy. So it was when Ted's mother met Johnny Culpeper Bundy that Ted took the name Ted Bundy. Although Johnny tried to include him in family life, Ted remained distant and looked down on his stepfather because of his low-income, blue-collar status. Early warning signs. Disturbing behaviors were noted by family and neighbors long before his murders began. Violent incidents. At age 3, his aunt reportedly woke up from a nap to find him standing by her bed, smiling with kitchen knives laid around her body. Wow, this man was sick and twisted at the age of 3. Imagine being his aunt and sleeping in a bed, and you wake up to seeing him standing by her bed smiling, and there's knives all around her body. Wow, that's crazy. Cruelty. Neighbors recalled him as mean-spirited, claiming he burned a cat alive and terrorized younger children. When younger kids harm animals, that's often a good sign that they're going to become a serial killer later on in life. By age 15, he had become a peeping Tom, frequently watching women through windows at night. Petty crime. He was an expert shoplifter and was arrested at least twice as a teenager for suspicion of burglary and auto theft, though these records were later expunged. And that is who Ted Bundy is. Ted Bundy is the lady killer. And now we're going to focus on all the horrific crimes that Ted Bundy did. So my friend Jeff is in the house, and Jeff says, "What's up, my friend? So cool you're doing true crime." Thank you very much, Jeff, and thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're having a great Tuesday evening. And tonight we're talking about Ted Bundy. I definitely agree 100% with you. He is a sick son of a bitch. All right, so now let's go ahead and talk about the crimes of Ted Bundy. Here are 10 Bundy's crimes. So most of his crimes are violent crimes, sexual assaults, and murder. Ted Bundy's crimes consisted of a horrific 4-year spree from 1974 to 1978, during which he kidnapped, raped, and murdered at least 30 young women and girls. While he confessed to 30 homicides across 7 states, investigators believe the true number of victims could exceed 100. Ted Bundy was a methodical and highly manipulative killer who relied on his all-American appearance to disarm his targets. The helper ruse. He often feigned injuries using fake arm slings or crutches to ask women for help carrying items to his light brown Volkswagen Beetle. Impersonation. He frequently posed as an authority figure, such as a police officer or firefighter, to gain trust. Attack method. Once a victim was near his vehicle, he would bludgeon them unconscious with a blunt object, like a crowbar, restrain them with handcuffs, and drive them to a remote location. Post-mortem rituals. Ted Bundy was a necrophile who often revisited the bodies of his victims for days or even weeks, sometimes grooming a corpse or keeping severed heads as trophies in his apartment. That is disgusting. You know, having sex with a dead body is gross, but dead bodies decompose. So after 3 or 4 days, a body is decomposing. Imagine having sex with a decomposing body. That is absolutely disgusting. I don't know what Ted Bundy was attracted to with that, but that is absolutely gross. Now, Ted Bundy's confirmed crimes span 7 states: Washington, Oregon, Utah, Idaho, Colorado, California, and Florida. Pacific Northwest, 1974. In 1974, he began a string of abductions from college campuses in Seattle and Oregon. His first confirmed murder was Linda Ann Helly. Utah and Colorado, 1974 to 1975. He continued his spree after moving to Salt Lake City for law school. He was first arrested in 1975 after a police officer found burglary tools and handcuffs in his car. Escapes 1977. While facing murder charges in Colorado, Bundy escaped custody twice, once by jumping from a second-story law library window, and once by starving himself to squeeze through a hole in his jail cell ceiling. Florida Rampage, 1978. Following his second escape, he fled to Tallahassee, Florida. On January 14th, he broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University, killing 2 women and brutally beating 3 others in a single night. His final victim was 12-year-old Kimberly Leach, whom he abducted from her school in Lake City. Ted Bundy was finally caught in Pensacola, Florida on February 15, 1978, while driving a stolen vehicle. He was convicted primarily through forensic bite mark evidence found on one of his Chi Omega victims. After spending a decade on death row, he was executed in the electric chair at Florida State Prison on January 24th, 1989. And still to come tonight, we're going to talk about his sentencing, and we're also going to talk about his execution. Coming up next, we're going to talk about Ted Bundy's modus operandi. How did Ted Bundy convince his victims to come into his car? And what was Ted Bundy's usual method of killing? Find out next here on the Case. But first, we're going to check out some of the live comments, and we're going to take a quick break. So Jeff says, isn't it crazy? They are going down the street and can literally walk past someone like this and never even know it. I definitely agree 100% with you on that, Jeff. You never know nowadays who is a sick individual and who is a good person. I definitely agree wholeheartedly with that. It definitely is scary. So that's why it's always better to be safe than sorry and trust your gut instincts. All right, right now we're going to take a quick break, and I want to invite you to my flagship program, Saturday with Alex Cardinale. This Saturday, my flagship program will be celebrating its 200th episode. It is the 200th Saturday with a special start time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I'll be getting new koi and new fish. Chef Alex will have recipe demonstrations, Karens are back, and more. And I've also got some amazing episodes coming up in a few weeks for Saturday with Alex Cardinale. We're back with more, and we're going to touch base on Ted Bundy's modus operandi next. Let's get ready to celebrate on the next Saturday with Alex Cardinale. The next Saturday with Alex Cardinale is a historic one. On the next Saturday with Alex Cardinale, we proudly celebrate 200 episodes. Come and celebrate 200th Saturday with Alex Cardinale live this Saturday, April 11th at a special start time of 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. It is a loaded celebration show. Aqua Alex will get new fish. Aqua Alex will have a Blackwater Creek Koi Farms unboxing. See me get some of my favorite dream koi. There will be 2 animals of the world. Learn about the bottlenose dolphin and the killer whale. Aqua Alex's featured fish will be the royal clown knife and black arowana. There will be a Seagrass Farms featured fish, a Blackwater Creek Koi Farms featured koi. For 1 week only, and for the 200th episode, it's the return of Karens. The Karens are back and they're crazier than ever. There's going to be 3 rounds of 2 truths and a lie on the Sopranos, WWE Raw, and WWE SmackDown. There'll be some WTF moments and 2 WrestleMania rewinds and more surprises. Don't miss the 200th Saturday with Alex Cardinale live this Saturday, April 11th. Special start time 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, right here on YouTube channel Alex Cardinale Entertainment.
Get ready for WrestleMania 42 with Alex Cardinale, calling all WWE fans. It's that time of year again. WrestleMania is back, and this year we're taking over Las Vegas. Are you ready for WrestleMania 42? Join me, WWE fan Alex Cardinale, for an unforgettable event, WrestleMania Saturday with Alex Cardinale. Date, Saturday, April 18th, 2026. Time, special start at 2 p.m. Eastern/11 a.m. Pacific, www.youtube.com/@AlexCardinale2026. What's happening on WrestleMania Saturday, WrestleMania 42? Preview, I'll break down the match card for Night 1 and Night 2. Main event insights. Get the inside scoop on WrestleMania 42's main events. Prediction time. Join me as I make bold WrestleMania predictions. Fun and games. Enjoy 3 rounds of 2 truths and a lie with themes of WrestleMania Las Vegas and WWE. WrestleMania Rewind. Relive the magic of WrestleManias 22 and 32. Plus, everything you love about Saturday with Alex Cardinale. WWE fans, mark your calendars and don't miss out on this thrilling start to WrestleMania weekend. Let's get ready to rumble together. See you there.
Alright, now let's talk about the modus operandi of Mr. Ted Bundy, aka the Lady Killer. Ted Bundy's modus operandi was centered on his ability to blend into society and exploit the empathy of his victims. He was a power-assertive killer who used his charm and clean-cut appearance as a primary weapon. The ruse phase. Unlike many serial killers who hunted in shadows, Ted Bundy often approached his victims in broad daylight or well-lit public areas using 2 specific deceptions. The injured man act. He frequently wore a fake arm sling or used clutches. He would approach women near his car, which was usually a light brown Volkswagen Beetle, and ask for help loading items such as a bag of groceries or a boat rack. The authority figure. He occasionally posed as a police officer, a firefighter, or a mall security guard, arresting or questioning women to lure them into his vehicle. So what happens when he gets the woman inside his vehicle? Abduction and attack. Once the victim was at his car or in a secluded spot, Ted Bundy's behavior shifted instantly from charming to violent. Blunt force trauma. He almost always used a blunt object, frequently a crowbar or a heavy metal pipe, to strike the victim on the head, rendering them unconscious. Restraint. He kept handcuffs and rope in his vehicle to secure his victims. He famously removed the passenger seat of his VM Beetle so he could lay his unconscious victims flat on the floorboards, making them invisible to anyone looking into the car. Rituals and post-mortem behavior. Bundy's M.O. included disturbing signature behaviors that went beyond the act of murder. Seclusion. He preferred to transport victims to remote secondary locations, often wooded areas or mountains, like Taylor Mountain in Washington, where he could maintain control for long periods. Necrophilia. Ted Bundy admitted to revisiting the dump sites of his victims to perform sexual acts on their remains, sometimes for weeks until decomposition made it impossible. That is gross, ladies and gentlemen. Trophies. He often decapitated his victims and kept their heads in his apartment for a period of time, occasionally applying makeup or washing their hair. That is gross. Decapitating his victims and then making their heads like a display trophy. Gross. The selection criteria. Ted Bundy had a very specific type that he targeted. Appearance. He almost exclusively targeted young, attractive, college-aged women. Hairstyle. His victims typically had long hair, parted down the middle, a style that mirrored his first serious girlfriend, Diane Edwards, whose breakup with him is often cited as a triggering event for his rage. And that is the modus operandi of the lady killer, Ted Bundy. Now, how does the lady killer Ted Bundy differ from other serial killers? That is a really good question. Ted Bundy is primarily distinguished from many other serial killers by his mask of sanity, an exceptionally convincing facade of a high-functioning, charismatic, and upwardly model citizen. While many serial killers are socially isolated or appear creepy to those around them, Ted Bundy was often described as kind and trustworthy by peers, even working on a suicide hotline and for a crime prevention commission. Key distinguishing characteristics. The helper ruse. Unlike blitz attackers who use sudden force, like Jack the Ripper, Bundy weaponized social conditioning by feigning vulnerability. He often used a fake arm sling or crutches to lure women into helping him, exploiting their empathy. Geographic mobility. He exploited the jurisdictional gaps of the 1970s, committing murders across at least 7 different states. His ability to blend into new communities and travel thousands of miles allowed him to evade detection far longer than killers who stayed close to home. Narcissistic grandiosity. Ted Bundy's level of narcissism was extreme. He famously acted as his own defense attorney during his televised trials, appearing to relish the media attention and believing he could outsmart the legal system. Organized and methodical nature. Criminologists classify him as a highly organized offender. He meticulously planned his abductions, used pre-packaged kits, handcuffs, crowbars, and systematically removed evidence, such as the passenger seat of his car, to hide his victims. Lack of a monster persona. He shattered the public myth that evil looks monstrous. As a clean-cut law student and political aspirant, he looked like a model citizen, which made his eventual exposure more shocking to the American public than that of disorganized or overly deviant killers. And that is how Ted Bundy differs from other serial killers. Now, Ted Bundy is convicted of killing at least 30 women, but many detectives and investigators believe that number could be up to the hundreds. But right now, let's talk about the capture of Ted Bundy. How was Ted Bundy apprehended? Let's find out right now. Ted Bundy was caught through a combination of traffic stops, eyewitness identification, and forensic evidence. He was first arrested in Utah in August 1975 when an officer noticed him driving suspiciously, discovering burglary tools, not murder evidence, in his car. Later, forensic bite marks and a final arrest in Florida in 1978 secured his conviction. Key arrest and clues. Initial suspicion, 1974 to 1975. Following the disappearance of young women in Washington and Utah, witnesses reported a man in a Volkswagen Beetle using crutches or a fake cast. The 1975 traffic stop. Utah Highway Patrol Officer Bob Hayward arrested Bundy for fleeing from a vehicle stop. Officers found a ski mask, handcuffs, and rope in his car. Key identification, 1975. Carol Da Ranch identified Bundy in a lineup as the man who attempted to kidnap her, which landed him in prison for up to 15 years. Escapes and final catch, 1977 to 1978. Bundy escaped from custody twice in Colorado. After fleeing to Florida, he was finally caught in February 1978 in a stolen car following his final murder spree, according to in the FBI's list of former 10 most wanted fugitives. Forensic evidence, bite marks. The crucial evidence in his 1979 conviction for the Chi Omega sorority house murders in Florida was the forensic oncologist analysis of bite marks left on a victim, which matched his teeth. Tip-offs. Girlfriend's suspicion. His long-term girlfriend, Elizabeth Klopfer, contacted police multiple times regarding her suspicion that Ted Bundy was responsible for the murders, having noticed strange items in his possession. And that is how Ted Bundy was captured. And now we're going to talk about the sentencing of Ted Bundy. Now, Ted Bundy received 3 separate death sentences for his crimes in Florida, eventually leading to his execution in January of 1989. Although he was suspected of dozens of murders across several states, he was only ever tried and sentenced for his final spree in Florida and an earlier kidnapping in Utah. Key sentences and trials. Utah kidnapping, 1976. Following his first arrest, Ted Bundy was sentenced to 1 to 15 years in prison for the aggravating kidnapping and attempted assault of Carol Da Ranch. Chi Omega murders, July 1979. In his first Florida trial, a Miami jury found him guilty of the first-degree murders of Lisa Levy and Margaret Bauman. Judge Edward Cowart sentenced him to 2 death sentences via the electric chair. Kimberly Leach murder, February 1980. In a second Florida trial, Ted Bundy was convicted for the kidnapping and murder of 12-year-old Kimberly Leach. He received his 3rd death sentence for this crime. Life on death row and execution. Ted Bundy spent nearly a decade on death row, during which he utilized numerous legal maneuvers and appeals to delay his execution. Marriage. He got married in jail. This is really, really unordinary and unorthodox. He got married in jail. In a bizarre legal move, during the penalty phase of the Leach trial in 1980, Ted Bundy used an obscure Florida law to marry his girlfriend, Carol Ann Boone, while she was testifying on the stand. Final confessions. In the days leading up to his death, Ted Bundy confessed to approximately 30 murders in 7 states, hoping to trade information for further stays of execution, a request the Florida governor ultimately denied. Execution. Ted Bundy was executed in Old Sparky, the electric chair at Florida State Prison at 7:16 a.m. on January 24th, 1989. Thousands of people gathered outside the prison to celebrate the news of Ted Bundy's death. That is the sentencing of Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was sentenced to death, and rightfully so. He died in Old Sparky, the electric chair at Florida State Prison. I can't imagine how an electric chair feels, but if anyone deserves dying in an electric chair, it is Ted Bundy for harassing, sexually abusing, torturing, and killing all of those young ladies. Ted Bundy is rightfully named the Lady Killer, an awful, awful killer who only targeted ladies. Well, coming up next, it is our final topic on Ted Bundy. What impact did Ted Bundy leave behind? What can we learn from Ted Bundy's serial killings? And what can we learn from Ted Bundy, the serial killer himself? Find out next as we get ready to conclude this great episode. I want to remind everyone that tomorrow, Wednesday, April 12th, I have a new show debuting. The name of this show is Turning Point with Alex Cardinale, where I talk about some of the biggest tragedies, natural disasters, and more in America. And our debut episode tomorrow, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, learn about America's deadliest fires. I'll talk about the fires at the World Trade Center, the fires at Station Nightclub in Rhode Island, deadly wildfires, and more. So tune in to Turning Point with Alex Cardinale's debut episode tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, and learn about America's deadliest fires. All right, here is a quick promo, and then it's our final topic for this episode. All right, what is the impact of Ted Bundy? Let's find out right now. Ted Bundy's impact reached far behind his crimes, fundamentally reshaping law enforcement, forensic science, and the public's perception of safety. His ability to evade capture by crossing state lines, and his eventual conviction through landmark forensic evidence created a blueprint for modern criminal investigation, revolutionizing law enforcement. Ted Bundy's ability to exploit gaps in jurisdictional communication led to major system reforms. The creation of the VICAP. His case directly contributed to the development of the FBI's Violent Criminal Apprehension Program, VICAP, in 1985, a national database that links unsolved violent crimes across different states. Behavioral analysis. Ted Bundy's patterns helped pioneer criminal profiling at the FBI's Training Academy, providing the basis for modern behavioral analysis used to identify serial offenders. Correctional security. His 2 daring escapes led to much stricter protocols for high-risk inmate transport, courtroom monitoring, and faculty design nationwide. wide. Landmark in forensic science. Ted Bundy's 1979 trial for the Chi Omega murders was a turning point for scientific evidence in the courtroom. Bite mark analysis. This was one of the first high-profile cases to successfully use forensic ontology, bite mark evidence, to secure a conviction, as the physical evidence found on victims was matched to Ted Bundy's distinctive dental impressions. Normalizations of forensics. The success of the trial paved the way for the broad acceptance of other forensic fields, including trace evidence analysis and eventually DNA profiling. Social and cultural Bundy effect. Bundy's trial and persona left a lasting psychological mark on American culture. Victim advocacy. His focus on young women sparked a national push for the victims' rights movement, leading to the rise of campus safety programs, self-defense education, and the use of victim impact statements. The Bundy effect. This term describes the cultural obsession with serial killers who appear charming or normal. His case significantly influenced the true crime genre, sparking decades of debate over the ethics of sensationalizing violent criminals in the media. And the end of stranger trust. The realization that a seemingly handsome, educated law student could be a predator fundamentally altered the public's trust in strangers and increased societal awareness of predatory violence. And that is the impact the sick, disgusting, perverse, disturbed individual, lady killer Ted Bundy had on America. And that is this episode of On the Case with Detective Alex Cardinale. I don't think I'm ever going to cover another serial killer as perverse and disgusting as Ted Bundy. I mean, he likes to have sex with dead bodies. Bodies that he killed, he likes to have sex with. That is absolutely disgusting and downright grotesque, if you ask me. Well, crime junkies, I hope you enjoyed this episode of On the Case with Alex Cardinale. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the episode. Do you want more Detective Alex Cardinale? Just go to youtube.com/@Alex Cardinale 2026 and find the On the Case playlist to watch my previous crime cases. And what crime do you want me to discuss? Do you have a crime that you want Detective Alex Cardinale to talk about? Email aquaalexcardinale@icloud.com and let me know. And I would love to cover a crime that you want to see me talk about. I hope you enjoyed learning about the lady killer, and I will see you the next time I am on the case. And on our next episode of On the Case with Detective Alex Cardinale, I'm going to talk about the choke and stroke killer, Samuel Little. This man has killed up to 93 people. It gets bigger and worse from here, because on our next episode, learn about the choke and stroke killer, Samuel Little. Remember, if you see something, say something. Never be afraid to call 911. I'm Detective Alex Cardinale. Stay safe, everyone, and thank you for watching this episode of On the Case. I, Alex Cardinale, would like to say thank you for watching this live stream on the Alex Cardinale Entertainment YouTube channel. I personally hope you enjoyed the live stream and the video. If you did enjoy the live stream, please smash that like button and please share this video on social media so that your friends and family can enjoy it as well. If you are a first-time viewer or new to my YouTube channel, I highly recommend hitting that subscribe button and ding the notification bell for notifications when I go live next or when I upload a video. I highly recommend subscribing so you're a member of the ACE community. Thank you for watching ACE.